Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. So it is chapter number 41 and it is about asymmetric synthesis. So we are going to discuss these all important points in this chapter. First we will take chiral pool. Before this we should know that what is asymmetric synthesis. Asymmetric means the word itself is very clear that asymmetric means we are going to generate a molecule which is not symmetric in nature, which is asymmetric, right? Means a molecule which is chiral in nature. And in asymmetric synthesis we are going to synthesize a particle enantiomer. So we should be able to generate a particular type of enantiomer. Asymmetric synthesis can be of three types. First is chiral pool. Chiral pool means we have a pool of chiral compound, means we have a lot of chiral compound already present in nature. They are present in nature, and when we extract them carefully, then we can use them in further reactions. For example, suppose I have S-alanine. So this alanine molecule, this is an amino acid and it is in S plus form. It is a pure enantiomer of this. It is present in our body and we can use it. We can simply extract it using different chromatographic techniques, and if we are able to extract this enantiomer, then it can be used in further reactions. Similarly, other type of amino acid which is also a pure enantiomer is serine, S plus serine. And similarly, other type of amino acids are also available which are present in pure form. So one method is the use of chiral pool in the chemical reactions. Second possibility is we can use chiral auxiliaries. Chiral auxiliaries are the groups which are formed from a chiral compound, right? And using these auxiliaries we can generate a particular type of enantiomer in very high percentage, and then after the reaction we can remove our chiral auxiliary. So first we will discuss what is the need of chiral auxiliary, why we need a chiral auxiliary. Then we will come to the point how we can synthesize our chiral auxiliaries and how we can remove them. So first and very important point is, if you have your achiral reagents and you are getting a chiral product from it, then this product will be a racemic mixture, right? And if you are using a pure enantiomer of a compound, then you will get enantiomerically pure product. So we will take two examples based on the concept which I have told you here, then it will be more clear. So first thing is, this is a molecule, this is an allylic alcohol and we are using MCPBA. So we know that it will cause its epoxidation and the site of attachment of oxygen is same as that of OH, but the attachment side of OH is not given, right? Means it is a racemic mixture. It can be attached above the plane or it can attach below the plane. It is a racemic mixture. So this racemic mixture will give me diastereomers, and each diastereomer will be in racemic form. Means I can have this product or I can have this product. We have seen in previous chapters in diastereomic synthesis that this type of reaction gave us diastereomers, and out of these two, this is the major product, the product in which the attachment side of oxygen and OH is same. That product will be our major product because of hydrogen bonding. And because it is racemic in nature, that is why it is also plus and minus, and it is also a racemic mixture. Means it is also possible that your attachment side of your OH is below the plane, and at the same time oxygen will also attach below the plane. Similarly, in this case, suppose OH is above the plane and oxygen is below the plane, it is also possible that OH is below the plane and oxygen is above the plane. So we will get two diastereomers, and these two diastereomers are present in racemic mixture form. In this case, we have enantiomerically pure product, pure reactant, because it is given that OH attachment side is above the plane. So again we will get two diastereomers, one in which the attachment side of oxygen is same as that of OH, and second in which this oxygen will attach on different sides, and this is our major product. but this time it is not present in racemic form, because it is already mentioned in the reactant that the site of attachment of OH is above the plane. So we cannot think that it may attach below the plane. It will always attach above the plane side in the product also, and oxygen will attach either attached above the plane or below the plane. But we know that the major product is in which it is on the same side of OH. So from this you can understand that from pure enantiomer reactant we will get pure enantiomer products. It will not give us racemic mixtures. Next question comes that how we can synthesize chiral auxiliaries and why we need it, right? So suppose I have this double bond here, it is acting as a dienophile here, and we have this diene. So it is an example of Diels-Alder reaction. So in this reaction we have two possibilities, because there is no specific there is no other group attached in our diene which can decide the side of attachment of dienophile. So this dienophile can attach below the plane or above the plane side of this diene. It is our achiral diene. And a dienophile which is formed after the reaction of this benzyl alcohol with this acyl chloride, dienophile will be this one. It is also achiral because it is not mentioned that what is the attachment side of these groups, right? So these two are achiral in nature. So we have two possibilities here, that suppose this is our diene, and in the intermediate dienophile will attack from the lower side. Suppose Diels-Alder reaction is the reaction between 4+2 alkenes, right? You can also call it as 4+2 cycloaddition type reaction. So one possibility is this one. Second possibility is, right, now if you draw your final product from these two, then we can get these two products. So if I want to draw it in different way, then I can also write it like this. This group will come above the plane side, and one product is this one, second one is in which this group is attached here. So it will give me only one diastereomer, that we will get endo product only, right? But there is equal possibilities of getting these two products, right? Means this dienophile can attach below the plane side or it can attach above the plane side. There is equal possibilities because there is no attachment on diene, it is achiral in nature. So it will give me 50-50 ratio of these two enantiomers. But if I want to synthesize only a particular type of enantiomer, this is our ultimate aim, that we want to synthesize only one enantiomer, then we cannot use this process, right? We have to attach a group in a diene or in a dienophile that can control the attachment side of incoming group. Means suppose I have this is an amine which is already present in nature, it is from our chiral pool. So first I am reacting it with borane, so this carboxylic acid group will convert it into alcohol. Then I am treating it with this base and this diethyl carboxylate. So when I will react it, we have seen this reaction in previous chapter, so I am directly writing the product here. So it will give me this product. Next we are using a base again, NaH. So this NaH will remove this acidic proton, and then this N will attack on this carbonyl group, and when this N minus will attack suppose here, and when this bond will shift here and it will come back and this Cl will be removed, right? So I will get this group attached here, I will get this product, right? So in this case our dienophile, this is our dienophile we have used in previous reaction, this one, and when I was reacting it with this benzyl alcohol, I am generating a ester, benzyl ester, and this dienophile is achiral in nature. But this time we are attaching this dienophile with a group which will guide the incoming group because of this bulky group attached here, and this group is known as chiral auxiliary. So now you can understand the meaning of chiral auxiliary. Means it is synthesized from a chiral molecule, right? And it is used to generate a group which is no longer seems to be similar to starting material, but it can govern the incoming group in our reactions, and will be able to we are able to synthesize a particular type of enantiomer, right? So this chiral auxiliary has no similarity with the starting material, with our starting enantiomer, pure enantiomer, but it helps us to synthesize a particular type of enantiomer. So this group is known as chiral auxiliary. Now we can use it again in the Thiel-Sandel reaction. So for this reaction we need a Lewis acid like diethyl ammonium chloride, and we will use our diene here. So first this Lewis acid will combine with these two oxygens, and it will fix this molecule, so it will form a rigid structure. Now the dienophile, the diene will attack from the less hindered side, right? So this group is attached below the plane, means the side which is less hindered will be above the plane side. So this is that dienophile, this double bond will participate in the reaction, so diene will attach from the above side, means this group will attach like this from this side. It will not attach from the below side, it is attached from the above side. So we will get this type of product. I have written this X, this whole structure, this chiral auxiliary is written as X, so I can write it down like this. Then if I will use a alkoxide, then this alkoxide will attack on this carbonyl carbon, this bond will shift here, and when it will come back this group will be removed. So we will get only single enantiomer in this case. So this chiral auxiliary help us to synthesize only single product, because it is making our molecule rigid, and this bulkier group decides the attacking side of diene. So it helps us to synthesize only one enantiomer. That is why this reaction is called as asymmetric synthesis, and this chiral auxiliary can be removed using alkoxides. So similar type of chiral auxiliaries can be used in many reactions. You can see a lot of example based on same type of auxiliary in Clayden book. We will take two more example based on same type of reactions. So again we are using this diethyl carboxylate, and then we are using a base, so it will synthesize our chiral auxiliary. So we have here two groups attached above the plane side, means our dienophile, we have two groups attached here which are above the plane side. So when we will attach it with our dienophile, we will generate a dienophile on which our diene will attack from the less hindered side, that is from the below the plane side. Means you will understand it a little bit later, that first we are using this NaH, it will remove this H and it will make this N negative, then it will attack on this carbonyl carbon, this bond will shift here, and when it will come back this Cl will be removed. So we will get this group attached here. This is our dienophile. Now we can use it in again the same type of reaction, means if we are treating it with this pentadiene, then this pentadiene will attack from the below the plane side, because this time we have two groups attached here which are above the plane. So these groups which are attached on this ring decides the attacking side of diene. In previous example we have a group, this isopropyl group, which is attached below the plane side. That is why our diene was attacking from the side which is above the plane. In this example we have these two methyl and phenylate groups are attached above the plane side. That is why this diene is attacking from the below the plane side, means it will attach like this. It will attach like this, and if you will draw this structure, then you will get this group. Suppose this is X is attached here at this carbon. This is the part of our double bond, and this whole part is our pentadiene group. So we will get this type of structure, and when you will draw it like this group will attach from this side, right? In next case, again we are using same type of chiral auxiliary. So this time you can do this reaction that we can directly attach this group here. This is not case of double-sided reaction, it is different type of reaction. So right, so we will get this product. Then we are using LDA. So this LDA will remove a acidic proton from this carbon, so it will generate a enolate. So question comes that we will get cis enolate or we will get trans enolate. So this is our cis enolate, and other possibility is that we can have trans enolate. In case of trans enolate, this methyl group can cause hindrance with this isopropyl group, right? That is why it is unstable in nature. So we will get cis enolate only, and this cis enolate can further participate in reactions. Suppose I am using a alkyl halide, so this, it will attack like this. Now question comes that this R will attach above the plane side or it will attach below the plane side. So it will attach from the side which is less hindered. This isopropyl group will decide the attachment side of this R. Because it is attached below the plane side, that is why this R will attach above the plane side. Means it will attach like this. Now you can easily remove this chiral auxiliary using a alkoxide suppose. So if I am using a alkoxide, then it will attack on this carbon. This bond will shift here. When it will come back, it will be removed. So we will get our single enantiomer. We are getting here a ester. We can also remove this ester by different reactions. So we will get a ketone only. So this chiral auxiliary will provide us a single enantiomer, but there are some chances that we can also get a product in which we suppose we are having this R group attached above the plane side. We can also have some product in which this R group is attached below the plane side. So there is also some chances. There are many ways to remove two enantiomers, that we can remove high concentration enantiomer from the low concentration by using different techniques, different chromatographic techniques. So first we should know that what is the meaning of enantiomeric axis. So we have seen in previous examples, suppose in this one, that there are two possibilities, that this R group will attach above the plane side or it can attach below the plane side. There are two possibilities. Means we can also have this type of product, but there are very less chances that we will get this one. Means it is in low concentration and it is in high concentration. So in case of stereochemistry, we define these concentration in terms of enantiomeric axis. Enantiomeric axis means that one enantiomer is present in axis while other one is present in low concentration, right? So this is a term to express the higher concentration, higher percentage of one enantiomer over other. Suppose we are getting a 94:6 mixture of two enantiomers. This is enantiomer A, this is enantiomer B, right? We are getting 94:6 ratio of these two. Means there is 94% A and 6% B present in our solution. So how we can express it in terms of enantiomeric axis, or you can call it as EE. So if you look at the 6% minor enantiomer, if you look at this minor enantiomer, then it is present only in 6% ratio, and suppose it is minus, and it is plus. So this -1 will pair up with 6% of this A to form a racemic mixture. This minus, this plus. So it will form plus minus 12%. Right? And if you are taking 6, and if this 6% of A is forming a racemic mixture with 6% of B, then we have to remove it from 94%. Means you will get 88% pure A. It is only pure form of A. This 6% is forming a mixture with this 6% of B, right? So we have only 88% pure A. So it is called as 88% EE. For this ratio, we will set that we have 88% enantiomeric axis of A. Now you can calculate the enantiomeric axis in same way for other cases also, right? Next thing is that we have seen that how for asymmetric synthesis we can use chiral pool, we can use chiral auxiliaries. Third thing is we can use asymmetric catalysis, means instead of having chiral reactants we have reagents which are chiral in nature. For example, if you have suppose this ketone and you are using NaBH4, this NaBH4 will reduce it, and this attachment side of OH is not defined. It can attach below the plane or it can attach above the plane side. There is equal probability unless you have another chiral group attached here. If you have a alpha carbon which is chiral in nature, then you can decide that we have this one as major product, this one is minor product using your Krem's rule, or you can use Falconell model. But if you have only this type of ketone, then you will have equal probability of attachment side of OH is below the plane or above the plane. So if you want to synthesize a particular type of alcohol, suppose this type, then you have to make this NaBH4 asymmetric in nature. You have to make it chiral in nature. So previously we have seen that we are doing some changes in our reactant. We are using some chiral pool or we are using chiral auxiliaries, but this time we are making changes are in our reagents. So one such type of chiral borohydride is called as CBS catalyst, and it is named after its discoverers, right? So this is the structure of this CBS catalyst, and if we are using BH3, then this will be activated in nature. Activated means this nitrogen having lone pair of electron will be given to this BH3 which is electron deficient, right? So this is active in nature. Now we can use it in different reactions. So we are taking the reaction of this molecule, this CBS catalyst. So first we have to rotate it. We will turn this molecule, and turn in this way this part of this molecule will come this place, and this 5-membered ring, this nitrogen containing heterocyclic ring, will come in the place of this ring, right? So when I will rotate it, this H and this BH3 group which was earlier below the plane side will come above the plane side, right? We will get this molecule after rotation. Then suppose I am using a carbonyl group like this, and in which I have one bulkier group, suppose I will denote it by RL, and one is a smaller size group, so it is denoted by RS. So this RS will come close to this BR, this BH2, and this RL will be placed away side, right? So it will attack on this carbonyl carbon, this bond will shift on oxygen, then it will combine, this oxygen also combines with this boron, right? So I will get an intermediate in which I have a 6-membered ring. So how I will get this 6-membered ring? Suppose this oxygen of carbonyl group, and it is forming a bond with this boron, right? Then I am writing it in chair form. So when it is combining with this carbonyl, it is giving its hydrogen to it, right? So this RL, which is bulkier in size, will be equatorially placed, and this RS will be axially placed, and rest groups will be attached to these rings, right? I am getting a chair form structure. So when I will remove it, this group, when I will remove this group, this RL, this is the position of RL, this is RS, and this OH which is formed will go below the plane side, and this H will come above the plane side. So in this way I have deciding that what will be the attachment side of H and OH, right? So this CBS catalyst helps us to generate a enantiomer, a chiral alcohol, right? Next we will take catalytic hydrogenation. So we have seen that how we can use Wilkinson catalyst for hydrogenation reactions. This is your Wilkinson catalyst, and if I am doing some changes in Wilkinson catalyst, it will form a chiral catalyst. So how I can generate a chiral catalyst? That I have using a chiral ligand in place of this PPH3 group. I am using a chiral ligand, and this is a chiral ligand is BINEP. This is chiral due to atrop isomerism. Atrop isomerism means chirality due to the restricted rotation about this bond. So here we have S BINEP. So one more important thing, that when we are doing asymmetric hydrogenation, we need a functional group next to a double bond. Suppose in this case we have this double bond and we have this functional group, and this functional group containing nitrogen can coordinate with the metal. This rhodium can coordinate with this nitrogen, and so when I am using this S BINEP, I will get attached this hydrogen, suppose on the above the plane side. Similarly on this carbon also, these two are above the plane side, so this NHAC group will go below the plane side. We can also use ruthenium metal for this such type of hydrogenation reaction. For example, in this case I am using R BINEP. So when I am using R BINEP, and in this case we have carboxylic acid which can coordinate, in which this oxygen can coordinate with this metal, right? So we need a functional group next to double bond which can coordinate with our metals. So in this case, when we have R BINEP, then hydrogen will attach above the plane side, and when I am using S BINEP, these hydrogens will attach below the plane side, right? So in this way, using a asymmetric catalyst, we can synthesize a particular type of enantiomer, right? So it is an example of asymmetric synthesis. Then two very important reaction in this chapter are sharpless epoxidation, and another one is asymmetric dihydroxylation. So we will see how we can use these two reactions. In sharpless epoxidation reaction, we need titanium isopropoxide for this reaction, right? And second thing is we are using some chiral ligands. These chiral ligands decides the attachment side of oxygen, or you can say they will decide the attachment side of epoxidation. So we can use plus minus DET, that is diethyl tartrate, or we can use plus minus DIPT, diisopropyl tartrate. And most important thing is the epoxidation is of only allylic alcohol is possible using these reactions, right? So all these things are very familiar to us, and last very important thing is how we can decide that what will be the attachment side of oxygen during the epoxidation. You have to remember a simple rule, plus RS, right? Plus RS means when you have positive sign here, if you are using positive DET or you are using negative DET, there are two possibilities, that you are using positive DET or you are using negative DET. If you are using positive DET, then if you are using positive DET and your alcohol is on the right side of allylic double bond, then the attachment side of oxygen will be like this, solid wedge, right? And opposite of it is when you are using negative DET and your attachment side is again right, then you will use wedge, dashed wedge, minus RD. So you have to remember only this one. Then you have to reverse this plus sign and this solid wedge with dashed wedge. R will remain as such. Means, for example, in this case, if I will rotate this double bond, suppose this is R, and if I will rotate it, so in this case OH is on the left hand side of this allylic double bond. So we have to change this rule. How we can change this? We will keep this plus as such, and this L means left hand side of this OH is on the left hand side of double bond, and this S will be changed with D. So if you are using this rule, you have to simply remember this one, and on the basis of this you can change your rules, right? So in this case we have OH group on the left hand side, so the attachment side of oxygen will be denoted by dashed lines, means in final product I have oxygen like this, right? Suppose I have minus det here. If I have minus det and again my OH is on the left hand side, so I have to change this positive sign with negative. L will remain as such, D will become S, means this will be solid wedge. When I will rotate this double bond, I have H here, right? In this case I have H here. So when I am rotating this one, this OH comes on the left hand side and H comes on the right hand side. But in this case, when I will rotate this double bond, H will come on the left hand side and OH will come on the right hand side, right? It is on this side. In this case we have OH here and H here, while in this case H comes first, so it will go on the left hand side after rotation and OH will come on the right hand side. So when I have OH on the right hand side, I have to remember this rule that with plus it will give me solid wedge, means you will get this product. So if you are using this example with same type of det, you are getting solid wedge here, while in this case you are getting dashed wedge here. So this is very important. You have to first check that whether your OH is on the left hand side or on the right hand side. Then you can do this reaction very easily. Then next is very important thing is asymmetric dihydroxylation. So we know that if we are using osmium oxide, then we can do syn hydroxylation, means two OH group will attach on the same side. Means if I have this alkene and if I am using osmium oxide, then it will give me, suppose this OH, they are on the same side. And for this reaction we need K3FeCN6, and this K3FeCN6 helps us to convert osmium 6 into osmium 8 form. In the starting it is in the 8 form and after reaction it is reduced. So if I want to again regenerate my catalyst, I have to use such type of reagents. In place of osmium tetraoxide we can also use these three reagents, because osmium tetraoxide is very reactive in nature, and if we are using these three reagents we can synthesize osmium tetraoxide in the reaction mixture. Then question comes how we can do asymmetric dihydroxylation. For asymmetric dihydroxylation we need some chiral ligands. We can use DHQ dihydroquinone, or we can use DHQD dihydroquinidine. This is the structure of DHQ and DHQD. These two are seems to be enantiomer, but they are not, because if you look at this structure at this part, below part, this seems to be enantiomer, but if you look at the above part, these two structures are similar to each other, so they are not enantiomer but they are behaving as enantiomer. And in this DHQ, if we are using thalazine in this place of this AR, then we will get this DHQD PHL or DHQ2 PHAL, right? And out of all these, the most important thing is if you are using DHQ2, if you are using DHQ means if you are using dihydroquinone, then 2H group will attach below the plane side, right? And if you are using DHQD2, then 2OH group will attach above the plane side. So this is the most important thing in this reaction. Then when you are using DHQD2, it will attack from the above side, and when you are using DHQ, it will attack from the below the plane side. So you have to remember only this thing, and you can simply remember it by that in this case we have one additional D, so it is more heavier in size. You can remember it by that. It is more heavier, and it is not heavier actually, it is similar to this one, but you can remember in this way that it is more heavier, and assuming it more heavier, you can assume that it will attack from the above side, right? And because it is lighter than this, because it has only DHQ, then you can remember that it will attack from the below side. It is only the way of memorize it. There is no difference in their structure on the basis of their molecular weight. There is no difference, but you can remember it in this way. This is my way of remembering it, so you can also follow this. So I will end today's video here. I hope this video is helpful to you, and if you like my videos, please share my videos with your friend. Thank you so much for watching.